President Trump, Vice President Vance had a very productive call with EU President Ursula von der Leyen on Friday. She followed up with a call with me, and we are talking about what can the two EU and the U.S. do together. And we are prepared to increase pressure on Russia, but we need our European partners to follow us, because if the U.S. and the EU do this together, we are in a race now between how long can the Ukrainian military hold up versus how long can the Russian economy hold up. And if the U.S. and the EU can come in, do more sanctions, secondary tariffs on the countries that buy Russian oil, the Russian economy will be in full collapse, and that will bring President Putin to the table.
This is my video update on this Sunday afternoon, September the 7th, coming to you from Athens, Greece. Let's talk about some news. And let's start things off with a massive Russian drone and missile strike into Ukraine. The reports are that this was the biggest Russian drone strike into Ukraine since the start of the special military operation. Over 800 drones were launched into Ukraine, targeting airfields, military facilities, military production facilities. There are reports that a bridge was also targeted and hit, a bridge on the Dnieper, which is an interesting report. And you also have the claim that a drone hit the Cabinet of Ministers building in Kiev. The Cabinet of Ministers building was hit because we are seeing videos and images from the building with the very top floor on fire. What we are not 100% certain on is whether this was a drone, or if this was debris from a drone, or if this was some sort of air defense missile or something like that. Klitschko said in a statement, the mayor of Kiev, that the Cabinet of Ministers building was hit by a Russian drone. I believe that is the statement from Klitschko. The seat of the Ukrainian government in Kiev has been struck by a Russian drone, Mayor Vitaly Klitschko said on Sunday. The Russian Defense Ministry has yet to comment. Ukrainian officials reported strikes in different parts of the capital, adding that the cities of Odessa, Kryvyi Rog, Dnieper, and Kremenchuk also came under attack. Klitschko wrote on Telegram that a government building caught fire following the apparent shoot-down of a drone. Let me read that again. This is what Klitschko wrote on Telegram. A government building caught fire following the apparent shoot-down of a drone. So the drone may not have been targeting this government building. According to Klitschko, the drone was shot down, and I guess he is saying that it landed on the top floor of the government building. That's what Klitschko wrote on Telegram. So anyway, the Russian military, the Russian government has not commented on the drone attack or on the fact that the ministry building was hit. But at the moment of recording this video, what we have is images of the top floors of the ministry building on fire, and we have this statement post from Klitschko. So a big strike into Ukraine from the Russian military. The Ukraine military, they also launched a drone strike into Russia. I believe around 60 or 70 drones were launched into Russia. So over 800 drones from Russia into Ukraine, and from Ukraine you had 70 drones launched into Russia. So we'll wait to see what the Russian Ministry of Defense says with regards to to the drone hitting or falling on the Cabinet of Ministers building. We'll see exactly what happened, or at least we'll get Russia's side of the story. We have Klitschko's statement, and we will await for further information. I'm also interested to get more information on the targeting of the bridge, this bridge on the Dnieper. That would be interesting if Russia really did target a bridge. It would definitely be a change from the Russian military strategy, which so far has been to not really go after the bridges. Now it may look like the Russian military is trying to knock out the bridges on the Dnieper. So Ukraine, they decided to hit the Druzhba pipeline. Yeah, Druzhba, the friendship pipeline, which is critical for Slovakia and for Hungary. And Zelensky had a meeting just yesterday with Fitzo, and they talked about the Druzhba. And what's the result of that meeting? What is Zelensky's reply to Fitzo? To go after the Druzhba pipeline again, to strike that pipeline once again. I believe this is the fourth or fifth Ukraine military strike against the oil pipeline. In about the last 4 weeks, they've gone after this pipeline 4 or 5 times. And this is pissing off Hungary. It is pissing off Fitzo. Fitzo meets with Zelensky yesterday. They try to find a way to stop the attacks on the Druzhba pipeline. Zelensky tells him that he will not permit Slovakia and Hungary to use the Druzhba pipeline. And sure enough, we get a Ukrainian attack on that very pipeline. Again, another attack on that pipeline. So what will Fitzo and Orbán, Slovakia and Hungary do? We wait and see. We're going to get some angry tweets, some angry posts from Hungary and Slovakia, or are they going to actually do something? They have ways to retaliate, and I'm not talking about military ways. They have other ways to retaliate or to answer Ukraine's attacks on the Druzhba pipeline. For example, Hungary, from my understanding, controls a lot of the electricity that is provided to Ukraine. So that's one way that Hungary might decide to retaliate. But we'll see. We will see what the response will be from Hungary and from Slovakia. We know what Ukraine's response is to Hungary and Slovakia. Forget about the words of Zelensky. Look at the actions. There are reports that claim Fitzo, when he met with Zelensky, that he told him that when he met with Putin in China, Putin told Fitzo that he's ready to meet with the Green Goblin anywhere, anytime, anywhere, and that means even outside of Moscow. Those are the reports that we're getting with regards to what Fitzo told Zelensky, which runs counter to what Putin said in his statement in Beijing and in his statement at the Far East Economic Forum, where Putin said that Zelensky is invited to Moscow, and that's pretty much it. If he wants to talk, he can come to Moscow. And then Zelensky told CBS, if he wants to talk, he can come to Kiev. And now you have Fitzo. The reports claim that Fitzo told Zelensky that Putin is ready to meet anywhere, even outside of Moscow and outside of Russia. So Trump is preparing, according to CNN, to go to South Korea and attend the APEC summit, which is taking place, I believe, in 3 weeks, 3-4 weeks. We're going to have the APEC summit in South Korea. And according to CNN, the White House is preparing for Trump's trip to the summit in Asia, where there may be a meeting between Trump and Xi Jinping. That is the main reason why Trump may be heading to South Korea, because Xi Jinping will be there, and this is going to be the first meeting, I believe, the first face-to-face meeting between Trump and the Chinese leader. There are also rumors, though I don't buy this, I don't believe this, but according to CNN, there are rumors that maybe even North Korea's Kim Jong-un might make an appearance at the summit, but I don't know. I think that's kind of unlikely for Kim Jong-un to be there. But the main priority, according to CNN, is to prepare the trip for Trump to go to South Korea and to get the meeting with Xi Jinping. So Politico put out an interesting article yesterday where they claim that the Trump administration and the Department of War, it's no longer the Defense Department, it's the Department of War, they are shifting away from Asia and they will be focusing on the United States and Latin America. Libertador de Uruguay. So a lot of people are talking about this Politico article. Do you believe that the United States, that the Department of War, the Pentagon, is really going to move away from Asia, from China, from confronting China, and it's going to focus on North America and Latin America and the Caribbean spheres of influence? Is that what we're back to? We did a couple of videos on the Duran way back in Trump's administration, at the beginning of Trump's administration in January, late January, early February, and we talked about spheres of influence, and that might be the strategy that the Trump White House takes when it comes to foreign policy. And then we got into this misadventure of Project Ukraine, and now going after China and going after India and Liberation Day tariffs and all of these things. And here we are, perhaps back to spheres of influence, maybe? Is that possibly what's going on? Could be. Interesting that they're using the term Department of War again. Alexander, he brought up an interesting point as we were exchanging emails talking about this article. And he noted that perhaps the name change to Department of War does signal a U.S. return to 1940s, pre-1940s foreign policy, back when it wasn't the Department of Defense, but it was the Department of War, and back when the United States was more focused on its sphere of influence. So that could be a signal. The name change to Department of War could be a signal that the Trump administration is now seriously considering shifting foreign policy priorities to focus more on its sphere, on its region, than trying to go after China and Russia, and maybe even India. Maybe they're going to finally give up on trying to bully India. Who knows? Right now, you have Navarro and Lutnick. They're obsessed with trying to bully India and peel India away from BRICS. Anyway, let's get back to this Politico article, and let me read you some of what This article is saying the person that actually drew up this report, this defense policy initiative, and presented it to Pete Hegseth, is Colby, which is also interesting because Colby, he's a China hawk, right? He's not a Ukraine-Russia hawk. He wants nothing to do with Russia and Ukraine. He wants the U.S. out of Russia and Ukraine, but he's definitely a China hawk. So it's interesting that he's the one, according to Politico, that actually drew up this this policy. Anyway, here is what Politico is saying. The article's title is "Pentagon Plan Prioritizes Homeland Over China Threat." This marks a major departure from the first Trump administration, which emphasized deterring Beijing. Let me move away from the cicadas. In Athens, man, we have a lot of cicadas. They're loud. The cicadas are very, very loud. So let's go down that way. Somewhere a bit more quiet. Yeah, no cicadas now, huh? So let's continue with this article from Politico. Let me get to the corner of the street. Get underneath some shade. Someone's drying their clothes. Drying their clothes on the streets of Athens. Ah, this is nice. Perfect. Perfect place to do some reading. Pentagon officials are proposing the department prioritize protecting the homeland and Western Hemisphere, a striking reversal from the military's years-long mandate to focus on the threat from China. A draft of the newest National Defense Strategy, which landed on Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's desk last week, places domestic and regional missions above countering adversaries such as Beijing and Moscow, according to 3 people briefed on early versions of the report. The move would mark a major shift from recent Democrat and Republican administrations, including President Trump's first term in office, when he referred to Beijing as America's greatest rival, and it would likely inflame China hawks in both parties who view the country's leadership as a danger to U.S. security. This is going to be a major shift for the U.S. and its allies on multiple continents, said one of the people briefed on the draft document. The old, trusted U.S. promises are being questioned. Politico further reports that the shift is already occurring. The Pentagon has activated thousands of National Guard troops to support law enforcement in Los Angeles and Washington, and dispatched multiple warships and F-35 fighter planes to the Caribbean to interdict the flow of drugs to the U.S. The other thing that's happening is that the U.S. is pulling out funding for various military activities on the Eastern Front in the Baltics, the Baltic countries, bordering Russia, right? We talked about that 2 days ago. So Eldridge Colby, as I said, the Pentagon's policy chief, according to Politico, he is leading the strategy. Politico said that he played a key role in writing the 2018 version during Trump's first term and has been a staunch supporter of a more isolationist American policy, despite his long track record as a China hawk. Colby aligns with Vice President J.D. Vance on the desire to disentangle the U.S. from foreign commitments. The policy paper is a national defense strategy. The national defense strategy draft. That's what we're talking about, a draft. So Politico is reporting that Hegseth may decide to change up this draft. This is not a final document, and it is not a final Department of War strategy or Trump administration foreign policy. this pivot away from Asia and focusing more on the home front. So we'll see what the final document will be. But it does explain the European panic in a way as well, doesn't it? The greatest fear of the European globalists is that the United States focuses its attention and resources, its money, away from Europe and more towards the United States and its own sphere of influence. I wonder if we're going to get more Greenland talk as well. That's kind of died down, hasn't it? The whole Greenland thing, but maybe that'll come back up again in the next few months. The neocons are not going to go for this if this does become a final document, or as Hegseth looks at amendments. You can bet on the neocons to not be happy with this policy shift. You've got neocons that are pushing for a future war with China. You have neocons that want the US to escalate into all-out war with Russia and are committed to Project Ukraine. You have neocons that want the Trump administration to focus on another conflict, a round two conflict with Iran. You have neocons who want the United States to start a conflict with Venezuela, right? And then you have neocons like Lindsey Graham who want the United States to be in wars all across the world, in every region and every continent of the world all at once. You have the Lindsey Graham types as well, who are not saying let's go region by region or country by country. Let's just go full out war across the entire world all at once. So you also have those neocons as well. They're not going to go for this document that Politico is reporting on. So let's do some more news and then we'll get to a clown world. The breaking news for today is that the Japanese Prime Minister will be resigning. Prime Minister Ishiba is set to resign, according to the latest reports. Now, he's been in trouble for a few months now. He got into a lot of trouble with the Japan-US tariff deal, where Japan is going to invest $500 billion or $600 billion into the US economy in order to avoid high tariffs. And Ishiba said that he wanted to stay on as prime minister, even though his mandate was pretty weak from the elections. And he said he wanted to see through the whole tariff negotiation. And now it looks like he's set to resign. So that's big news. But Ishiba's position has not been very secure for a few months now. So big news, but not surprising news, I don't think. We also had big protests in France. They are protesting Macron. They want Macron to go. The protests looked fairly large, at least from the videos that I've seen. Not massive protests, but not small either. They're not happy with little Napoleon and his 15% approval rating. How can he stay in power with a 15% approval rating? I don't know. I don't know how you can remain on as president with such a low approval rating. Shouldn't you call elections? Those were the protests in France to be rid of flip-flopper Macron, who has been a complete disaster. And now we can do some clown worlds, or at least one clown world for this Sunday. And we are going to talk about the former president of Poland, walk on the wild side, Andrzej Duda, who is going to be getting his very own TV show. That's right, he is going to be a TV host slash podcaster, and he's going to talk about news and events in Poland and events taking place around the world. And that is going to be DUDA's new gig. And I believe his show is going to start around September 15th. And DUDA's excited about being a TV celebrity. He said this is a new chapter in his life, and the fact that he's going to be speaking about politics and geopolitics and everything going on in the world and in Poland means that he is going to remain committed to political discourse and discussion. So, from president of Poland to podcaster, TV host Andrzej Duda, yeah, they wreck the world. They've wrecked Europe. These guys have wrecked Europe. But they've got some nice gigs afterwards, huh? From president to podcaster. From German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock to president of the UN General Assembly, living it up in New York City, right? Anyway, that's the video, everybody. TheDuran.locals.com. We're on X, we're on Telegram, and we are on Rumble. And go to the Duran shop, pick up some merch like what I'm wearing in this video update. There is a link in the description box down below.